ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is lecture number 12. Today is 27th April 2020. This is Dawah Ilallah. I'm Nasir Muhyiddin. Before we get to the latest video, I want to add a few words on the previous video that I made about Bibi Asiya. So a word or two more on the noble lady Queen Asiya radiallahu anha, whom we discussed in the previous video. Indeed, she was a very pious lady who sacrificed her exalted worldly status for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that supreme sacrifice, she will inherit the highest place in heaven. It is narrated that she will be the wife of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah, an honor she richly deserves. Same goes for the other wives of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, especially Mother Khadija radiallahu anha, whose sacrifice for Islam was no less. She was a very wealthy woman before Islam, but spent all her wealth in support of her husband's mission, and never once complained about her diminishing fortune. In the end, she died at Shabi Abi Talib in poverty in extreme testing conditions, but never once complained. She too is promised the highest Jannah with her companion, the Holy Prophet Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salamun ala ahli bayti Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, coming to our latest topic, which is rejecting Taghut in a subtle manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ghafir, which is also called Surah Mu'min, in Ayah 28, that a high-ranking officer in Pharaoh's establishment had become a believer, but he hid his faith by denouncing the Pharaoh openly, not denouncing the Pharaoh openly, rather he did it subtly by engaging in intellectual debates with the other members of the Senate, if you will, the high body of governors, and that too in the presence of the Pharaoh himself. This is another method of rejecting a Taghut, and one that may be employed by someone who is born into a Taghuti nation, like a white American or black American who converts to Islam, or a white European or Brit who converts to Islam. But I believe that the migrant Muslims should outrightly reject the Taghut and return to their countries of origin. Their situation is different from that of the natives, who have been part of the Taghuti nation for centuries, while the migrant Muslims adopted the Taghuti nation entirely for selfish reasons. Coming back to the believer who hid his faith, he appears to be someone who is wise and far-sighted. He knows what consequence Pharaoh's policies would bring for the whole nation. He tries his best to save Prophet Musa alayhi salam from assassination by using his high position. He stirs up a debate in the Senate, like upper chamber, to force people to think logically on the subject of Prophet Musa's dawah. Pharaoh had instituted a sham democracy where the hand-picked senators felt they too had a hand in running the empire. Haman appears to be the one in charge of the ruling elite. He certainly is the master builder. After all, the Pharaoh on his own could not have maintained his godly status. He needed the support of ruthless criminals, which he got from Haman and others. The believer hiding his faith was an exception. Ayah 42 of Surah Ghafir is an astonishing ayah, one that should be carefully studied. It clearly explains the term shirk fil hakmiyah, which is declared bid'ah, innovation these days by ulama who serve taghuts. An absolutely wonderful method is employed in this ayah to explain the phenomenon of shirk fil hakmiyah. The believer says to the establishment members, "You invite me to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and associate with Him that of which I have no knowledge?" Now I will read the ayah. So this is Surah Mu'min, Surah Ghafir, ayah 41, and it goes like this: Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَا لِي أَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى النَّجَاةِ وَتَدْعُونَنِي إِلَى النَّارِ تدعونني ليكفر بالله وأشرك به ما ليس لي به علم وأنا أدعوكم إلى العزيز الغفار. Now read the translation. And O my people, how is it that I invite you to salvation while you invite me to the fire? You invite me to disbelieve in Allah and associate with Him that of which I have no knowledge, and I invite you to the exalted in might, the perpetual forgiver. Now, the believer says that I invite you to salvation while you invite me to fire. Now, kufr and shirk cannot be done at the same time. They cannot be done at the same time. Kufr is denial, and shirk is belief in Allah, but you associate somebody with Him. So it means that, but kufr in this ayah does not mean total denial of Allah, but denial of only some aspect of His being. And by disbelieving some aspect of Allah's position, a void is created, and that vacant position is filled by giving it to someone else. Pharaoh had declared himself the highest Rabb and the only ilah of his nation, which we will see a little later. We'll read the ayahs. The Pharaonic establishment believed in this farce and invited the believer to accept Pharaoh as the absolute sovereign on earth. Absolute sovereign on earth. They all knew that Allah created the heavens and the earth, and that He also created Pharaoh and his forefathers. So they all believed in the Supreme Creator, but they argued that Allah's dominion ends where Pharaoh's dominion begins, which was the land of Egypt. Pharaoh said to his Taghuti nation that since I own the land and its rivers, and by extension the produce and provisions of the land are also mine. What he meant was, I feed you people. I own you. I'm your master. Nay, I'm your one true God. It is thereby prohibited for you to disobey me. Present day tyrants and taghuts have the same mindset. Nearly all great powers in history have modeled themselves on the Pharaonic Roman model. The British monarch adorns Pharaonic clothes at the investiture ceremony. There's an Egyptian pyramid at the back of every US dollar. Now what the hell is it doing there, that one may ask? Incidentally, these two countries have had the worst criminal record in the last 200 years. The other Taghuti states like Russia, Imperial Japan during World War II, France, Germany, India, Israel have also been involved in persecuting the weak. But Britain during the colonial times and USA since 1945 have done the most damage by far. They have committed atrocities and continue to commit crimes that would have made Pharaoh exclaim, now why didn't I think of that? Unfortunately for the naive Muslims who happily become subjects of the Taghut, they are misguided by the ulama who claim that there is nothing in the Quran and Seerah that stops them from pledging allegiance to such Taghuti states, which have openly destroyed country after country on the basis of lies, deception and hatred for Islam. Such deceiving ulama have become willingly or unwillingly pawns of Satan, who had vowed that he would sit on Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path, and derail children of Adam from there. These worldly ulama, much like the economic migrants, run after the affluence and prosperity offered by the Taghuti nations. Hoping to learn the way of the Prophet from such ulama is an exercise in futility. The path trodden by the holy prophets and the holy messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not for the faint-hearted. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us the way He guided the believer who hid his faith, yet he rejected the Pharaoh openly and thoroughly, something that is unthinkable for Muslims when it comes to denouncing America and others. Now I will read some ayahs. This is Surah Shu'ara, ayah 23. And as we know that the Pharaoh declared himself God, Rabb and Ilah. And in Surah Naziyat he says, قَالَ فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, I'm your greatest exalted Lord. So here in Surah Shura he says, and I'll read, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ وَمَا رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين قال لمن حوله ألا تستمعون قال ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين قال إن رسولكم الذي أرسل إليكم لمجنون قال رب المشرق والمغرب وما بينهما إن كنتم تعقلون قال لئن اتخذت إلها غيري لأجعلنك من المسجونين. And this is a conversation between Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam. Here Musa asked, Musa said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh said to Musa, and what is the Lord of the worlds? Musa alayhi salam said, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and that between them, if you should be convinced. Pharaoh said to those around him, he said, do you hear? Do you not hear? Musa alayhi salam said, your Lord and Lord of the first forefathers. Pharaoh said, indeed your messenger who has been sent to you is mad. Musa alayhi salam said, he continued, Lord of the east and the west, and that between them, if you were to reason. The Pharaoh had enough. He said, if you take a god other than me, I will surely place you among those imprisoned. Now I quote another ayah. In Surah Qasas, ayah 28, Surah Qasas, ayah 38, he again declares himself as Ilah. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وقال فرعون يا أيها الملأ ما علمت لكم من إله غيري فأوقد لي يا هامان على التين فاجعل لي صرحا لعلي أطلع إلى إله موسى وإني لأظنه من الكاذبين. He says, Pharaoh said, O eminent ones, I have not known you to have a God other than me. So here again he declares himself God. And in another verse, in the same Surah Qasas, we've seen that calling people towards Taghut is a call towards fire. And the Pharaonic people, the nation of the Pharaoh, has been declared as a model nation for hell, for people who go to hell. For it is a nation that is a model nation for all Taghuti states. And this way in the Quran, Holy Quran, we see in Surah Qasas, ayah 41, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَجَعَلْنَاهُ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا يُنْصَرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we made them Pharaonians, leaders inviting to the fire, and on the day of resurrection they will not be helped. So this is why you see there's a pyramid on the back of a US dollar, and the Queen of Britain, she wears the Egyptian robes when she takes when she anoints someone, and she adorns that garb, the Egyptian garb. So they actually look up to the Pharaonians, the nation, as a model nation, as a model Taghuti nation. And Allah says we made them a model Taghuti nation. And I will read more ayah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now we will read Surah Zukhruf. We've seen that on what basis Pharaoh declared himself Rab. He said that he owned Egypt, and on that basis he claimed to be Rab and Ilah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Zukhruf, ayah 51, he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَنَادَى فِرْعَوْنُ فِي قَوْمِهِ قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَلَيْسَ لِي مُلْكُ مِصْرَ وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And Pharaoh called out among his people, he said, O my people, does not the kingdom of Egypt belong to me, and these rivers flowing beneath me, then do you not see? So I'll read another ayah here. So in conclusion, I will read that ayah, that beautiful ayah again, which is the subject of this video, which is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَا لِي أَدْعُكُمْ إِلَى النَّجَاةِ وَتَدْعُونَنِي إِلَى النَّارِ تَدْعُونَنِي لِيَكْفُرَ بِاللَّهِ وَأُشْرِكَ بِهِ مَا لَيْسَ لِي بِهِ عِلْمٌ وَأَنَا أَدْعُكُمْ إِلَى الْعَزِيزِ الْغَفَّارِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and O my people, how that I invite you to salvation while you invite me to the fire. You invite me to disbelieve in Allah and associate with Him that of which I have no knowledge, and I invite you to the exalted might, the perpetual forgiver. So invitation to accept the authority of a taghut, be it a person or institution or a state, is an invitation to hell. Shirk fil hakmiyah is another term for secular mode of governance, where a person or a group of persons are empowered to enact laws that contradict the divine laws, which is shirk fil hakmiyah. Most of the world is run on this principle. So we've seen that this is shirk fil hakmiyah, along with shirk fil uluhiyah, shirk fil rububiyah, is a shirk that we must abstain from. And shirk fil hakmiyah is basically what ulama have declared to be something that is permissible these days. They call it bid'ah. There's no such thing as shirk fil hakmiyah. They said that hukama or hakim can decide whatever he wants to decide. He can enact laws as he wishes. But we've seen that, and we will further see in other videos, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the hakim of not just the universe, but not just the heavens, but also the earth. So shirk fil hakmiyah is also shirk, and Muslims should understand that when they pledge allegiance to taghuts, they are committing shirk fil hakmiyah. We must read the Holy Quran and ponder and deeply think over these beautiful ayahs. May Allah guide us and help us to understand the Holy Quran. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.